Okay, quiet on the set, please.
Okay, well, Ryan, I'm still doing something.
I know, I'm live, honey. Okay. Okay, so I did send out a tweet earlier today just saying if you have any questions, just direct message me. And I got quite a few. I'm going to try to address those as I go along. Now, the Oilers got thumped last night. And the thing is, I don't really get mad when the Oilers play poorly and lose. They just don't get any sympathy from me. When they play well and lose, that makes me quite upset. Maybe it's just my sense of justice. Speaking of justice, let's discuss the officiating so far in this series. There's a couple of tweets here that I want to quickly mention. I saw them this afternoon. The first one is from Bruce McCurdy, and he points out the 5 busiest games for Oilers penalty kill through 86 games played. Game 3 of the season versus Buffalo, 6 times shorthanded. Game 19 against Dallas, 6 times shorthanded. The other 3 are games 1, 2, and 4 of this series, 6 times, and 8 times, respectively. The second tweet is from Jason Greger. He breaks down the power plays that have been dished out in each individual series. The penalties in the Oilers-Sharks series are 22 for the Oilers and 12 for the Sharks. That's almost double. The rest of the series, the gap is no larger than 2 penalties. A differentiation of 2 penalties in all the other series. Now, I've refereed in the past, and so I do empathize with them. They have a really difficult job to do. In today's day and age, it's probably the hardest it's ever been for a couple reasons. One is that we're able to slow things down, rewind things, and analyze them really closely on huge TVs. So the plays are scrutinized really closely. They got to make these calls in the blink of an eye when the game is being played so quickly. And the other reason is social media. I mean, this stuff spreads like wildfire. So if there's a blown call or something, everybody's seen it within 5 minutes. So I do empathize with these guys. Having said that, since I have officiated in the past, there's 2 things that I always look for in an official. One is, are they a good communicator? I mean, I imagine Ron McLean must have been an excellent referee because he is just the best at what he does. But when you're a good communicator, even if you're calling a lousy game, you've got some measure of respect from the teams, the players and the coaches, because you have no problem going to the bench and saying, look, I didn't see that. I made a mistake. I just got to continue on officiating the game, as opposed to a guy who just ignores everyone, because that just fires everybody up. So number 1 is a good referee is a good communicator. Number 2 is, and this has been the biggest issue, consistency. The officiating has been so incredibly inconsistent. And I'm not one of those people who blames the referees when my team loses. Good teams find a way to win. And the Oilers actually did that in Game 2. I thought that was the most poorly officiated game in the series. They played their best game and overcame it. Now, having said that, the effect that inconsistency has had on the Oilers, and I heard them talking about this on Oilers Now today, the Oilers don't know where the line is. They don't know what they can and can't get away with because the referees are just turning a blind eye to some stuff and then calling other stuff that's not even a penalty. I mean, last night, when the game was 2-0 and they gave Cassian that penalty, and I think the whistle had already blown, I heard something about that, it wasn't a penalty anyway. 2 guys just skated to the net. It bumped it off. A delay a game? Are you kidding me? Interference? He was back checking, chasing the guy to the net. And then they give McDavid one when he's tracking Pavelski down at center ice, and Pavelski's doing these pirouettes all the way down center ice. They give him an interference. I mean, that put the Sharks on a 5-on-3. Game over. Now, this is where I want to get on the Oilers case, because the refereeing's been poor. My issue is what the Oilers have done with that. Okay, I get it. The officiating hasn't been good. Rather than just throw in the towel like they did last night, how about you battle back? Instead, they're just throwing this pity party, woe is me, and I think that's what the heart of what happened with Leon Draisaitl was. He was just ticked off, and took it off on the guy that was closest to him, because I didn't see any history between him and the fellow that he speared in the family jewels. So my issue is that the Oilers are just not responding to the officiating. And a real pet peeve I have is that people keep saying, "Oh, it's the Oilers' playoff inexperience." You know, it's playoff hockey. It's playoff hockey. Okay, I've been watching playoff hockey for 20 years, and as near as I can tell, the definition of playoff hockey is you gotta play through it because the referees put the whistles away. Well, they're not putting the whistles away. This is not playoff inexperience that's hurting the Oilers. It's immaturity as a team. I haven't seen them play this way all year, and it's even the veteran guys like Lucic taking that undisciplined penalty in game 1 or 2 there. So I mean, when I hear that, I'm just like, hey, that narrative sounds great. That's not actually what's going on. And as far as I'm concerned, it's been 70% the Oilers have been undisciplined and 30% poor officiating. Yeah, they've played a little looser than they should, but there's also stuff that, I mean, really shouldn't be called. And the other thing that doesn't help is Pavelski and Couture just with the head snapbacks. Like, anyone comes near them and they're just doing this all the time. Like, the referees are just eating that up. And none of the Oilers are doing it. So you just got to figure a way to battle through it. Now, having said that, they got smoked, and a lot of people are thinking that the series is over. Well, I mean, it's 2-2, and the Oilers have home ice advantage in the last 3 games. I picked the Oilers to win in 6. I still think they will. But everybody seems to think, oh, they got beat so bad it's going to carry over to next game. Well, I can tell you, as a fan of the Oilers, back in 2006, I remember this vividly. They beat Carolina in Game 6 of the finals. They beat them 4-0, and I think Carolina had 10 or 11 shots on goal. And I remember saying to the guy next to me, Edmonton's going to win the Cup. I mean, if Carolina plays that way in a game where they could clinch the Stanley Cup, they don't have a hope in Game 7. Well, we all know how that turned out. Even when I first started watching hockey, I remember the Red Wings and the Avalanche were playing back in '97, and the Red Wings were leading the series, and they blew Colorado out 6-0. And they went up 3-1, and the next game, Colorado beat Detroit 6-0. And then the next game, Detroit won the series. So, I mean, I don't think you can carry momentum from game to game. So I don't understand where the panic is coming from. Forget about that game. 1-0, 10-0. It doesn't matter. They lost. They were terrible. Move on to the next game. Regroup. And that brings me to my final point, and that is the Oilers haven't started well in any of the games. They've allowed San Jose to come out and establish their forecheck, and they've been maybe not trailing the game, but chasing it for the first 3 to 5 minutes. The key to rebounding from that last game is as soon as the puck drops on Thursday night, you are coming at them with everything you got. They have got to establish that. I mean, considering the way that the games have been played, I think Edmonton is fortunate to be 2-2 in this series. And on the flip side of that, I think San Jose is fortunate that Edmonton hasn't played a full 60-minute game. Because I think that when they do, we saw what they did in Game 2 where they just stifled the Sharks. That is the Oilers' game. I know everybody likes talking about, high-flying Oilers. When they get into the corners and grind the other team down and go in on the forecheck and hammer those defensemen into the boards and wear the other team down, they excel at that. That's why they won so many one-goal games this season. So they need to get back to that in Game 5. And I mean, I don't know why everybody's all worried. I'm confident they're going to do that. I mean, McDavid still doesn't have an even strength point in this series, and he led the league in that category this season. And quite honestly, I think I heard his interview after the game. I think that he has totally, as soon as he came off the ice, he forgot about that. Let's just move on to the next game, and I think he's going to be hungry to win. Fans are going to be fired up. It's an opportunity to take the lead in the series, and I think he's the guy that's going to lead the way. I don't know if that's going to be with a few points or maybe drawing some penalties, but we'll see. Go Oilers, go!